Yeah.
Never unplug things once they are plugged in. I'm going to be using my fancy Stream Deck buttons, I hope.
Nice.
And while I did not make a funny cross out Manny's name and put yours up,
No worries.
it's I can only do so much new stuff, but I'm excited about this because I have the focus window. Like I can bring up, well, that's you. I can bring up myself and focus now, and
Good.
you don't have to look at the others, and
Yep.
then when you're tired of looking at me, I could be like, hey Shockey, are you tired of looking at me? And I can bring you up, and there you
That's
are.
awesome.
I like it. So with that, I guess everything's recording. Welcome everybody to the Daily Cup of Genre here on the Genreverse Podcast Network and YouTube channel. Follow and subscribe to the channel. You're using your favorite apps and YouTube and all that good stuff. Part of the big LRMonline.com family. Head over there every day for all of your entertainment news, needs, and opinions. Sponsored by the good folks over at Grow Generation, where the pros go to grow. A little bit more from them later on in the episode. And I feel like I'm out of breath. Shockey, how
It's a
you
lot
doing,
to say.
man?
Good. You had a lot to go over there. So it's been a long weekend and, busy, and, now we kind of just recap everything that, happened with San Diego Comic-Con, and good to go.
Yeah, it was the first year back in a couple of years, like
Right.
for real convention with everything, cosplay and panels and the floor and everything, and we had Manny Gomez out there. You guys can see we did a weekend episode of this show, and he was there at Comic-Con and talked a bit about things going on. But man, from the outside, how'd you feel like watching all of the stuff, not just the Marvel things that we're here to talk about today, but what was it like to see the con, and are you excited for potentially going yourself next year?
Yeah, so prior to COVID, I'd gone the previous 4 years covering for the site. And so it was bittersweet, to watch it from afar, because it was great to see that it was finally back in person. I'm happy. And like I was talking to Manny about this and some of the other people that went, it's almost a blessing that the pandemic happened for Comic-Con, because the years leading up prior to it, a lot of the major studios backed out from going and doing a lot of presentations. Like there was very little from Marvel the year prior to Comic-Con. There was very little from the Star Wars, DC, like of the major studios. They Warner Brothers did their fandom experience and stuff during COVID. And the fear is that that's what all the major studios were going to do, is do their own little conventions or online presentations. And so to see Hall H packed again, to see all the major major studios premiering, I'm looking forward to next year, because I think that's going to spark some of the other studios to really get in there and really push for time in Hall H and panels. And it was overall a great experience. I thought there was a lot of stuff that came out that we were trying our best to keep up with. And just the Marvel panel alone, the amount of stuff that they announced there was ridiculous. Some people were joking that, it's amazing how Marvel was able to lay everything out for the next, 2.5, 3 years that we have. But we can't get a hard date from Lucasfilm on when Bad Batch 2 is going to come out and stuff and everything. It's funny.
I can't blame them for asking. I mean, it's a valid complaint. It was really great to just kind of see it all happen again, and people being very thrilled and trying to get back into the swing of things. I can't wait for New York to hopefully still go on this fall. But it kind of like from the outside, it looked a lot like the revitalization of Comic-Con, thanks to those same big studios that had started pulling out, like in 2008, 2009. You had a real big swing towards Warner Brothers having a bunch of stuff, AMC having a bunch of stuff, and all of these sci-fi back in the day, G4. It became a bigger deal for things outside of comics and games and things like that. And some people really liked it, some people didn't. I know in the 20 teens, a lot of people were starting to complain about some of that, and that's when you started seeing certain companies kind of pulling out and trying to do their own thing, or looking at other venues to attach their stuff to, and of course Disney using their own D23 events and things like that to supersede it, and focusing Star Wars more on the celebration events. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping, especially with Marvel, that the reaction that they got, and kind of the positive feed and buzz, everyone, Marvel won Comic-Con. I hope that does revitalize the convention once again, and kind of makes San Diego Comic-Con the mecca of conventions once again, if you will.
Yeah, so, I mean, I agree with you. Like, I think Star Wars Celebration, Star Wars needs to be there. The Pixar and Disney animation and some of the live action Disney stuff, keep that for D23. But when you're talking about Marvel, DC, all the other comic publishers and stuff, AMC, Netflix, they need to show up at Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con. I think that's where people expect to see those two, studios show up. The last time I went to D23 was right before Avengers Endgame, I think it was, or Infinity War, and it felt weird. It was cool to see it all and stuff like that, but it definitely felt like it was almost out of place. Like, that was not the type of crowd you would have expected, because when you go to D23, it's diehard Disney fans. Like, these are the people that have annual passes to either Disneyland, Disney World. They're into, the Pixar, the Disney animation stuff.
And they literally go to Disneyland or Disney World to work off their laptops, eat at the cat. Like, they live that.
And that's cool. It was
looking at you, James.
and that is a cool thing. Like, I have my own, I'm a pass holder too to Disney World and stuff, but to see, all that, it was, the time when Coco was just coming out, and they were announcing, Lightyear and some of the other Pixar movies, but then all of a sudden it was, okay, now we're going to switch over to Marvel, now we're going to switch over to Star Wars. That was kind of the weird part of the presentation of their big celebration panel. But no, I mean, this Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, Mark and I went to Heroes Con earlier, which is a big comic book convention. Like, if you are looking for a comic book, then Heroes Con is the place to go. And it was packed. It was, it was a great environment, and people were there in record numbers, and so that was a good sign. But to see that many people go to San Diego, the buzz I'm hearing about New York Comic-Con now, and how many people are going, setting up to go there, and then you have like Emerald City that that's out in Washington and Seattle and stuff, and so C2E2. It sounds like they were finally getting back to the way the conventions were, like you were talking about in that time period from, say, like 2010 to right almost pre-pandemic, whatever. It was a great time. Like, if you remember the Deadpool trailer coming out, and how it got leaked out and stuff, and the buzz about that. It was just, it's a fun time when you have these weekends to, even if you can't go, just to huddle around your laptop waiting for whatever news to drop, and whatever crappy little film you can get from someone's cell phone hiding off to the side and everything. It's I definitely think that we're back, and we're going in the right direction for conventions.
Yeah, let's hope it all continues to become more and more open and accessible, and the road to normal, even though it'll be a bit of a new normal, will hopefully carry on. With that, man, let's go ahead and talk a bit about that big Marvel panel, and I guess just start with Phase 5 itself. Did I actually get my browser set up? No, give me a second. So Phase 5 was, everyone's been really curious about what we will get. Whoops, that is not what I wanted to do. Everyone's been really curious about what we would be getting out of Phase 5, and I have a picture if I can get it up. that was a funny one. Way to say that, Kyle. Get it up. Ha ha.
That's
So
what she said.
exactly. Phase 5. All right. Everyone was kind of curious about where Phase 4 would actually end. It ends with Wakanda Forever, and Phase 5 picks up right with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania. We got to hear some audio from there. There's been video descriptions. Of course, there's leaks out there if you guys want to see them, but there was some footage shown from that movie at Comic-Con. What are you feeling on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania, man?
So we get the return of Kang, right? Kang the Conqueror. And then I think the other thing that was talked about was it MODOK was
seen, yes.
It was seen as well and stuff. That's going to be really interesting because for me, like, I think the last 10 minutes of Loki was kind of like, that got me super excited about what direction that Marvel was going in with the multiverse and stuff. And it just kind of ended, and we haven't really picked up with that. And you know, all the other shows, Disney Plus shows and movies that have come on, hasn't addressed Kang and in that the concept of the multiverse. We got it a little bit with Doctor Strange, but I don't think it was really cleared up. So that is what I'm excited about, is that what version of Kang the Conqueror is this going to be compared to what we saw in Loki? And you know, where does that set up to the overall, I guess, the end of it? Because it's, to me, Phase 4 has been kind of a little bit of a mess. If you, in my opinion, you don't really know what direction and stuff. And I think Kevin Feige, you know, addressed that there wasn't really a clear idea of to be or not. There was a clear idea on his part and putting it all together, but to convey to the fans what direction is going. You know, I think now we kind of get a better idea leading up to Secret Wars. I think it's cool that they did it with Ant-Man and the Wasp, because I think, you know, the Ant-Man movies are one of the best movies in the Marvel series. I mean, I think Paul Rudd as Ant-Man is one of the best casting calls that they've done so far. It's interesting that, you know, they got Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer back as well. They're going to be part of this movie, so it's a lot. How much they're going to fit into that is going to be interesting.
I really like the Ant-Man movies. Yep. Ant-Man and the Wasp movies now. They're good. They've been good palate cleansers, so to speak. And Ant-Man, the first one was the palate cleanser from Phase 1 into Phase 2. They made that official. That was the first film of Phase 2, and I don't really remember. Ant-Man and the Wasp happened after Infinity War, so it was already part of Phase 3. It wasn't the first 3 movie. I don't remember what was the first 3 movie, but Ant-Man and the Wasp, nice palate cleanser out of the second Avengers movie. So they were the first movie for Phase. They were the first movie for Phase 3, whatever it was the first in a new phase, palate cleanser, and that is what I hope this does. But like you said, it's kind of weird because we've had 3 big multiverse, you know, things supposed to happen between Loki, Spidey, No Way Home, and Multiverse of Madness. And yet none of them seem to have moved things forward, and that's kind of depressing. And you hear about Phase 5 2023, you know, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania, but then you see the Phase 6 stuff, and you get Kang Dynasty in 2025, and Secret Wars in at the end of that same year. It's a little weird, and when you look at the rest of Phase 5, you're like, okay, well, where's all the multiverse stuff? You've got Secret Invasion set during the blip, Guardians of the Galaxy out in the cosmos, its own thing, Echo, that's all, you know, street level Daredevil related type stuff. Loki season 2, we get some more multiverse things, but then it's back to cosmic with the Marvels, Blade, Iron Ironheart, Agatha, Coven of Chaos, you could theoretically have some multiverse stuff in there, but who knows if it's going to be. It's going to be mostly magic, you know. I think it's really going to be focused on her, and it might even be a lot of stuff in the past with her, like her search for power. But then Daredevil, and then Captain America, New World Order, and that's phase 5. Out of all of that, you've got two things that really scream multiverse, and I think that's why we got stuff announced in phase for phase 6 to show that this will be a multiverse thing, because you don't get anything else multiversal until you maybe Fantastic Four, and then of course stuff with the two named Avengers movies.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I don't know, man. It's kind of sad in my mind. How do you feel about? And this is the multiverse saga, and there are of course some Disney Plus things that can still be announced, and more things in 2025. But still, man, like, does that really feel like a multiverse saga?
No, and you're right, because like when you think about the first 3 phases and leading up to Endgame, every project had some sort of either relationship or teaser to the Infinity Gauntlet, you know, whether it was the, you know, Loki scepter, or in Thor Dark World, or, you know, there was the Guardians of the Galaxy with the Power Stone and stuff. There was always that kind of link that you could see, okay, so this is how all of the stones will eventually get to, this is their origin, and this is kind of the travel of them getting together. So you're absolutely right. Like, when it comes to the multiverse, I thought we were getting that when we saw Loki. When WandaVision happened, it was kind of like okay, this is I almost took WandaVision as kind of like the wrap up to everything that happened in the first 3 phases. It was, you know, Wanda kind of doing her own thing or whatever and stuff. And that was kind of, and then next would be introducing all the new characters. But you're absolutely right, because Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I'm sorry, didn't really set anything up for multiverse. Loki did. Loki was kind of that event. But then Hawkeye didn't. You know, there was all these things, and it kind of reminded me. It reminds me a lot of when Netflix brought in the Defender series, and they were like, okay, these are superheroes too during this in the same universe, and they mention, you know, the New York Battle of New York and stuff like that, but they have nothing to do with the Avengers, and they have their own battles as well. And it's almost kind of like when I look at this and I'm looking at the rundown, like you said, Secret Invasion doesn't even take place in the multiverse saga. It takes place in between Infinity War and they're in the blip, right? So that's not going to have anything to do with multiverse. The Ironheart won't have anything to do, I wouldn't assume, with the multiverse. Echo won't do anything with that. I think Echo is going to lead into more of the Daredevil show, Born Again, and so Daredevil Born Again is not going to do anything. Thunderbolts,
that's the final for phase 5, they said,
right? Yeah, I don't see Thunderbolts being a multiverse movie, you know.
Maybe. I mean, you could see some of the like Spider-Man villains, maybe, if they made a deal, because you know, Norman was a big part of that. You could potentially get some of the X-Men mutants, but we know from Miss Marvel that there are already mutant people in the 616. I'm really curious as to how they're going to do that, and that's a big thing missing from this lineup, man, is stuff on mutants. But anyways, go ahead.
In Captain America New World Order, I don't see that being a multiverse saga. So, and here's the thing, was that what the first 3 phases, you know, even if it was a crappy movie, what it did a great job of is linking all the way to Thanos and getting the gauntlet. Whether it was, you know, an end credit scene where you see Thanos, or one of the villains, you know, getting the Infinity Stone, putting it. We don't get this. Like, we're getting, you know, Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, but we've only seen Kang one time in phase 4.
Yep.
Doesn't look like we're going to see Kang in. I don't think we're going to see Kang in Wakanda forever, or She-Hulk. So that means the supposedly big villain of Kang, only one time we're going to get any type of, knowledge of this villain here.
Between now and between Quantum Mania, we've only had one, and then you'll get
that was like 10 minutes,
Loki's season 2. Maybe.
If you don't watch Loki as a Marvel fan, you're going to be very confused of what's going on when you get to, I think, Quantum Mania. And then if you skip Quantum Mania, you're not going to understand what Avengers Kang Dynasty is. So listen, I've got faith to an extent, but at the same time, I think this is it's a big reach on Marvel's eyes of saying, or Marvel's heads saying, we trust that our viewers are going to go subscribe to Disney Plus, watch Loki, figure and sit through all of that and understand that part, and then go to the theaters and see Ant-Man Quantum Mania. That to me, I don't know.
Yeah. Before we take the ad break, what out of everything that was announced and everything that I've been showing on one of the pictures shared from Deadline at Comic-Con, things like the Thunderbolts aren't on these pictures, but what show and what movie are you looking forward to the most for Phase 5?
Show Daredevil Born Again. I think that was my favorite of the Netflix series, even as crazy as it got, and with the Defenders and stuff like that. But I thought Charlie Cox was a perfect, cast as Daredevil. I really enjoyed that series. I still go back and watch it on Disney Plus here and there. Movie wise, it's the tie, because it's going to be the third attempt at Fantastic Four, and see if this finally is.
That's technically Phase 6. We'll get to Phase 6.
Oh, okay.
So
Phase 5. Guardians of the Galaxy, just to see the ending of this. I mean, from what everybody saw from the that was at the Hall H panel, and how there was tears going, how this is going to be the end of that group story and stuff. That's the one.
I'm 100% with you on Guardians Volume 3. That's the one I'm looking forward to the most. That's the one, like, Thor was slightly disappointing, and you guys can see my review here on the podcast network or YouTube channel, but it had its disappointing aspects. While it wasn't a bad movie, it was just more of what Phase 4 has been, disappointing. Although there have been serious issues with some things in Phase 4, but Guardians, man, just I know that they went through a lot with James. He's not afraid to be like, screw you, and I think he's gonna do the movie he wants to do, and I thought that would be good for Taika. I don't necessarily think it was a good idea to let him get the exact movie he wanted out of it if he sticks to those words. But yeah, man, as far as shows, like, I want to say Daredevil, but I've got serious concerns about that. I know we're getting a rated M Marvel Zombies, which is great, but I'm still concerned about a like TV 14 Daredevil. Not that it can't be done. We saw good stuff with Multiverse of Madness and Moon Knight, but I don't know, man. Yeah, I'll go with Daredevil, with Loki right on its heels.
Yeah, I think you're right. The TV 14 kind of does scare me a little bit, because I think that's what I enjoyed of the Netflix series, being a mature rating and blood and violence and stuff that was. But
yay, violence.
Yeah. But I did like how Moon Knight was created, and I was still TV 14. So if they can keep it to that level of what Moon Knight did, then I'm okay.
Yeah. And with that, why don't we go ahead and take a quick word from our sponsors over at Grow Generation.
Grow Generation, where the pros go to grow. For all of your cultivation needs, Grow Generation has the right products, service and staff to make your grow successful. Go to www.growgeneration.com growgeneration.com, where the pros go to grow.
Oh man, I think I cut the commercial off a little early. Sorry about that. Whoever's voice I cut off, but link in the description box down below. Yeah, so phase 5, it's there. Things that we're curious about. I'm really interested in what the new world order of Captain America will be. I think potentially what's the next thing coming up? Crap, that might deal with some mutant issues.
With mutant issues?
There's what project was I think?
She-Hulk?
She-Hulk.
Yeah.
She-Hulk. They mentioned in the trailer that there's a new, more crazy set of superpowered people showing up. I think we might get some more stuff from mutants there potentially. Again, you might have something in Secret Invasion. They might even try to connect the mutations to the snap. That's been a theory for a long time. But I don't think you really will get anything maybe until the Marvels. I don't know where it's all gonna kind of.
When is
fit
Blade
in.
supposed to come out?
November 23.
Okay.
You think they might use mutants for vampires or something?
Yeah, I think that's what they'll do. To keep it TV 14. Because
Blade will be a movie, so.
I'm sorry. But to keep it, not TV 14, but to keep it
like PG-13.
PG-13.
Yeah. What do you see for mutants here, man? Like, do you think that's going to be a Phase 6 thing? Do you think that's even a Phase 7 thing? Do you think
I think that's Phase 7.
Going to do like a mutant saga or some sort of thing?
Right. So I think that
people are going to be mad.
Right. Well, listen, I thought that was like one of the biggest question marks coming out of San Diego Comic-Con, or at least the Hall H panel, was that there was no mention whatsoever of the X-Men. You would think that since Disney acquired Fox and was able to reclaim, what would you say, the second most popular Marvel franchise behind Spider-Man?
Probably. I mean, people love the X-Men. It's one of the first things you think of when you think of Marvel. Cap,
and what
Spidey,
Fox was able to do with that franchise and the movies out of that, I would have thought for sure there would have been some sort of announcement of, hey, kind of like what they did with Fantastic Four at Disney Plus Day 2 years ago, saying that, hey, Fantastic Four, the first family of Marvel, is coming. But that was it. But there was nothing. So I think it's going to be a slow build up to mutants, and then you could see maybe in Secret Wars the introduction of the X-Men leading into Phase 7.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. My biggest concern about it is Magneto. I've been vocal about how important it is that Magneto, the character, suffers a trauma of bigotry and inhumane treatment as a human, and then as a mutant. And I've made a point that the Holocaust, the slaughtering of Jews at the hands of Nazis, was by far like one of modern history's most horrific events.
Correct.
There's been other genocides. You think of the Armenian genocide, Rwandan genocide. There are other genocides, but whenever you think of X-Men, you're thinking of either America or World War II Europe. So people were like, oh well, if you upgrade it or update it, update it, maybe you use the civil rights movement. Well, yeah, it's a very tough time and a very traumatic experience, and it's one of the closest things you could get to the stuff that happened in World War II, but that would still make Magneto very old if he was 10 years old in the 1960s.
Correct. Yep.
So you have to start looking for outside. You have to start looking on the African continent, looking in the Middle East, looking in South that wouldn't be Southwest Asia, but like South Central West Asia, if you will, like your Slavic nations and the stuff with all the crap that went on in the 90s with the fall of the Soviet Union and Russia's former empires that have Muslim majority populations or large Muslim nations. All the troubles in there. You have to start going out there,
right,
to find something that could give. Because I'm sorry, nothing is, especially nothing in the United States in the last 20 years, and it doesn't take away from individual or even trauma for a group here, but none of that compares to, stuff on the outside. So my whole thing was like, you got to play with the multiverse for Magneto. Like, you got to bring him from a different universe and a different time, so that way they're not too old. Because I personally don't want another 60, 70-year-old Magneto and Charles.
You.
What do you think about Magneto specifically, but also some of the other characters that really are dependent on things from our past?
No, yeah, you're absolutely right, because while I enjoy the first X-Men franchise and Ian McKellen as Magneto, I think, what was it, Michael Fassbender, right? Was the younger version. I think he nails that person of Magneto, or that. But you're absolutely right. When you look at timeline wise, you can't have a 30-something-year-old Magneto in the 2020s, in 2030s and stuff. So yeah, you're gonna have to either you're gonna have to omit Magneto, or just say it's part of the past, which would be something. It would be scary to do, because he's such a pivotal part of the X-Men franchise.
And his past informs that a lot.
Mm-hmm. But you're right. I mean, you could use the multiverse to pull a version of Magneto into the future. Maybe that's what the Fantastic Four do. I don't know. They could just I agree with you. Maybe they bring in an older Magneto who's not as formidable to the X-Men, and maybe I know that there was some talk about, or some rumors going around, that Mr. Sinister would be the big villain for the X-Men franchise, when they were finally introduced.
Yeah.
But yeah, you cannot leave Magneto out of the future X-Men franchise. That's, I don't know how you get away with that.
I don't know.
And you're also right. We don't need another old Magneto. Mm-mm. And that if the timeline stays the same, then that's what you would get. You would get somebody who's 100 years old, as Magneto. So you'd have to have some sort of explanation how he stays young, and
yeah,
that's an interesting. I didn't even think about that, when talking about the future X-Men and stuff. And
yeah, it's like I don't want to take away from bad things that have happened in the United States, but again, Magneto's not even an American,
right.
He's Jewish European.
Mm-hmm.
But people looking westward for inspiration for this new version, like I said, where do you draw from? And the scary thing is, when it comes to Disney, especially, is how nervous they get with certain political issues. And
you can't switch Magneto. I don't think you can do that. And you can't.
Well, I mean, if they did, if they choose one of the other more recent traumatic events, and I don't mean to take anything away from, say the LA riots after Rodney King. I don't mean to take anything away from awful things minorities have faced here in America in the last 20 to 30 years, but the past was the worst, and
mm-hmm.
relatively speaking, those aren't as impactful for as it's not what it is with the Holocaust. It's not what it is even for the race relations in the United States in the 60s. And it needs to make sense. We can't have someone that, you don't want a pestilent. That's not the word I'm looking for. You don't want a whiny Magneto that is overblowing something that happened in 2000. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't want that. You want something that really resonates. Something that, because that's what the X-Men did. They were a commentary on the worst part of humanity. Like that's what the comics did.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it was there to show racism and bigotry. So that is absolutely something this needs to do, but it needs to carry the weight. It has to be valid. And again, I'm not talking about, it's a touchy subject. I'm going to go ahead and get off of it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Canceled.
Right. No, but so what Marvel was able to do, or Feige was able to do, was say like Killmonger, right? And update him to a more, recent time period and dealing with that. I thought that was perfect. Like, I still think that like how Michael B. Jordan and that character of Eric Killmonger was brought into the Marvel Cinematic Universe was unbelievable. It's still considered like one of my favorite villains. But yeah, you can. I'm with you. I don't think you can. If you're going to bring Magneto into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you can't make him anything else but a Jew that suffered from the Holocaust. That was it. Like that was it, like, because like you're absolutely right. What makes Magneto was the suffering he went through as a human, and then the suffering that he goes through as a mutant, and that's what basically leads to his decisions on his pathway and his views
mutant
versus
supremacy,
versus Charles Xavier, who only saw it as a mutant, and that was their kind of their kept on butting heads about, and that's what makes Xavier and Magneto so like tied to each other, in their viewpoints, and how they were able to be friends, but at the same time have very different views on the idea of mutants cohabitations with human beings and stuff. But yeah, you're right. It's you can, if you do update it, wow, like for the person whose job that is to say, all right, hey, we're gonna
adapt it to modern times.
Yeah, we're bringing the X-Men into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and you gotta adapt Magneto's story to modern times. Ooh,
yeah, you gotta find something in the last, say, 40 to 50 years.
Yeah.
At most, 40 years at most, actually. So something 30 to 40 within the last 30 to 40 years that isn't super, and also something that makes sense for the MCU, because that was one of my complaints with Miss Marvel. They were showing the DODC as kind of calling back to real world U.S. Law enforcement and government treatment of Muslims after 9/11. But in the MCU, we've never had any inclinations that the government is that way. Whether or not 9/11 happened is irrelevant. The MCU has been a relatively diverse and open place, both at the government level and on the street level. And it was DODC, it was them being kind of racist against superpowers, if you will, being bigoted against people with superpowers. Not so much that they were and they just happened to be in a Muslim community this time. Not that it was but they still tried to play to that, and it didn't fit right, because you were sitting there like, well, you've never your government, you've got Rhodey and women and no, Sam, you guys created a relatively diverse universe for better or worse, for better for representation on screen and stuff, but in some ways for worse, on almost limiting yourself on the ability to tell stories that make sense in there. So we'll see what happens with it. You ready to talk a little bit about Phase 6?
Yeah, let's do it.
So Phase 6, we only got a few things announced. Fantastic Four kicking it off in November of 24, and then two Marvel Avengers movies in 2005, May and November. And guys, the Secret Wars, the one everyone hoped would have the name Russo attached to it. According to Kevin Feige, they are not directing Secret Wars. Phase 6, what do you think, man?
the third crack at Fantastic Four, man. The one that no one can get right. It seems. I don't know. I like the very first Fantastic Four movie as a kid.
It's all right.
It's a very kiddie movie.
The Doom costume is good, though.
The Doom costume is great. Mm-hmm.
Just the costume.
The Chris Evans as Johnny Storm, young Human Torch, I thought was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's when you look back at it now, it doesn't. It's not good at all. The Thing's costume is horrible, and
I actually like the practical. I thought, for what it is, it looks way better than you thought it would. The facial ability to emote through it. Okay. Yeah, there's some crinkling and stuff like that, but it looked better than Fantastic Fan 4 Stick or whatever. The train.
So what's interesting was about Fantastic Four is they still haven't announced who the Fantastic Four are, nope. even though we got like, say, casting announcements for like Blade and all these other projects that were like 3-4 years out, and we're
2019, man.
Yeah, we're only 2 years away from, or 2.25 away from Fantastic Four, and we still don't know the cast, and production is going to start next year. So the question I had is, are we going to see in one of these new projects, or one of the projects in, say, like Loki season 2, or or Secret Invasion, are we going to see the reveal of the Fantastic Four there? And that will be kind of their Marvel's way of doing a cool surprise there.
You think Marvel's afraid to? I mean, Brian over on our AVR podcast, he's Pulp Mythos on YouTube. He had mentioned how angry he was that they just released they dropped mutants and mutations in Miss Marvel.
Right?
And he was like,
I didn't
that
watch
was just
Miss Marvel.
Yeah. He was like, that's so not the venue, not that Miss Marvel, doesn't deserve to have reveals or be a part of the MCU, but just that it's the mutants, and you just kind of passingly mention it like that. How would you feel if the casting of I wouldn't necessarily mind the name being dropped in Loki, but would you want to see the debut of any of the cast's faces in Loki versus a movie?
Depending if it's pivotal to the story. If it's pivotal, like if it's so important to the story, that's what makes it, I'm okay with it. But if it's kind of like what Miss Marvel did, and just kind of just drops it, like, hey, there's mutants in the last 30 seconds. Like, the only reason why I know this is because of YouTube. If I hadn't, because I nothing against Miss Marvel, just not my cup of tea to watch, whatever and stuff.
Don't worry, only the first 2.5 episodes are good.
Yeah, and so whatever, but like it's so much with it's almost too much I can't keep up with. But nothing. But if you're gonna drop something like that, it better be important. And so, because to me, so going to the Miss Marvel thing, right? They drop the mention of mutants, and then 30 seconds later, there's the swap between, Carol Danvers and
Kamala,
and Kamala, right? And so to me, it's like, okay, is this a setup for Rogue? This is how they're going to introduce mutants? Is that, is the Marvels going to go up against the Brotherhood, and we get the introduction of Rogue, and if that's the way that they're laying the breadcrumbs out, I mean, it better, it's got to work, or I don't know. Yeah, and then the way that the Multiverse of Madness with Doctor Strange 2, where it was the teaser with John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, are we gonna get, is he? I know that Kevin Feige's kind of said, no, we haven't made that decision yet or whatever, but is that going to be the first time we see Mr. Fantastic in the MCU, or John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic and getting killed right away and stuff? So I don't know. It's weird. If they use it for say Loki or the Marvels or something like that, I don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah. We'll have to see. I've wanted basically, and there's rumors and some artwork of Victor Von Doom for a future, I won't say which, but a future Marvel project that'll be coming out in the next year or so. It's just concept art probably for like a stinger, probably a post credits or mid credits scene is what some are thinking. But I always thought it would be cool if the Fantastic Four and Doom, if Reed and co went out, did the experiment, get sent into, time, space, dimension, whatever, at some point, and time fluctuates. Here on Earth, time is moving, and time moves differently for them. When Doom gets kicked out early, but basically gets back to Earth early, it's been, say 15, 20 years, but for him, it's only been one or 2 years or something like that. And he goes, takes over his homeland and does everything there. And when the Fantastic Four finally make it back, it's, they left in the 1960s. It's been, say, 5 or 6 years for them. And now it's modern times. And I want them to come out with Franklin and, Valerie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want them to come out with both the kids. Like I literally want it to have been, maybe not both kids only having been, 6 years, but maybe it's like been 10, 12 years for them. And it's been, 50, 60, 60 years here on Earth. And I think that's a really cool idea. You have the ability then to explain Doom and I don't know. We'll have to see how it all shakes loose. But the other big, reveals were, hey, this awful title, which I honestly expected to change, the Kang Dynasty for Avengers 5, technically, in May of 2025. Did you read most of, or at least know the whole Kang lineage and stuff?
Kind of
with the Avengers, how he's related to Reed, how another is Iron Lad. There's stuff going back to ancient Egypt, like all of that. Yeah. One, what do you think about the title, and two, how do you feel about that movie and us, getting maybe 3 Kang things, two Loki and one Ant-Man and the Wasp before this movie, like. I don't know. What do you think?
It's almost like to where, remember when, when the Avengers Ultron was announced, it was an interesting decision to make Ultron the big villain, for the second Avengers film and stuff. And it the way that they introduced it and how, it was okay and stuff. So I guess that this is going to be the setup for Secret Wars, because Kang is if I remember correctly, in Secret Wars they go to the battlefield planet,
Battle World,
or Battle World.
That
Battlefield was
Kang
that horrible movie that
did it, but yeah,
it was John Travolta.
Battlefield Earth
or Battlefield Earth, yeah. So it was Beyonder.
Beyonder did that.
Yeah, the Beyonder created
the original, the
Battle World, but it was basically all the superheroes coming together versus Kang and Ultron and Galactus, right?
No. Galactus was part of it. Ultron's part of it. I mean, they're all part of it, but it really goes to Magneto and Doom become two of the biggest players there. Doom being the absolute biggest player there. Magneto was brought in on the good side,
guy, but then he goes
he churns. Yeah. So you've got that, but I honestly think that the Battle World will, and maybe some of the situation will be more like the original, but I think the finale of this movie will be the 2015 Secret Wars and the combining of universes. I think that's what they're going
2015 style, not like the
kind of combining the two of them.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I think. That makes more sense, cuz I mean, let's face it, the idea of Secret Wars, of course, is really cool, but they've kind of squandered some of the get-togethers, some of the cameos and pairings and stuff like that. But neither story really works in and of itself as a movie. So I think they got to kind of to combine the two. The idea of
Right.
like Battle World having all of these like continents where it's like X-Men 90s, so that's not going to work. I don't want that Battle World. I want like the classic Battle World and it's set up, but I think they're going to use the multiverse changing system of the last one. I don't know. What do you think about that? How are you feeling, man? I saw one video with the crowd reaction for Secret Wars, and it was not the reaction I thought.
Listen, I'm telling you right now, like I get it, I understand it, but Secret Wars is not a very popular story. The most popular thing to come out of Secret Wars was Spider-Man getting the black suit. If you go to the original, like the publication of Secret Wars in the mid 80s, right? Mm-hmm. It was an okay reception among comic book fans. But what ultimately stands out from that story is Peter Parker getting the alien symbiote and then leading to, the Venom and everything, Venom and Carnage after, and all that kind of stuff. When you talk about Secret Wars in the mid 80s, from that storyline, not many people like remember it as a like, oh my gosh event. Like, in the Infinity Gauntlet, that was a big story. The Civil War, that was a big story. Secret Wars was good. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad storyline, but it's not on that level. So to make that your finale of this era of superheroes the multiverse, it's interesting. I kind of get it. Like, and the way that you put it makes sense is like this is the battle to bring the multiverse back into one linear path and one universe.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're asking fans to get super excited about it, you have to be a really diehard comic book fan to come back to it.
And the 2015/16, because of all the delays and stuff.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
It was not very well received. It was an okay idea overall, but it and both Reed and Franklin play a big part in it. So does Molecule Man and a lot of players that haven't been announced or in it, haven't been in this universe yet. I don't know, man. I think here's my biggest issue personally. I wanted to be it's Secret War, it's more like I wanted that. But Phase 4 has really left me kind of like I don't know. Like I don't can I trust it? I thought I could trust Taika Waititi and Thor. Nope. Everything has been various levels of good but not great. Like I still won't watch Spider-Man No Way Home again because I'm afraid it won't hold up. I'm not that big on the nostalgia for Tobey or Andrew. I can't stand the Amazing Spider-Man films, but because of that, I don't know if it'll hold up because that's the crux of that movie is the old stuff. And I'm a fan of Tom Holland's Peter Parker. I think Far From Home and Homecoming are amazing. They're great. But I don't know, man. How do you feel about Marvel right now? Like, are you as excited as you wish you were, or do you have the excitement you think you should, or are you feeling kind of sad or left out or something?
Not necessarily sad, but so go back to when we got Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, right? We saw the beginnings of like Easter eggs being dropped to. So when we saw Iron Man, right, the end credit scene was, we're creating the Avengers. That was like, I remember that reaction in the movie theater. Oh my god! What? We're getting the Avengers? Oh, this is so freaking crazy, unbelievable. Then you get Captain America and you get Thor, and you see in Thor you see the Infinity Gauntlet. In Captain America, it's the stone. And you kind of that beginnings of leading to Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. That excitement right there. In those first three films, you knew what this was leading to. Number one, we're putting the Avengers together. Number two, we're going to get, the Infinity War. in Infinity Gauntlet and Thanos, and it's going to be this big culmination of superheroes, and we got that. That was the biggest payoff ever. If you went and saw Iron Man in theaters from that moment and you stuck with it all the way to, that was to Endgame, that was the biggest payoff. I don't think we're going to get that same type of payoff here from Phase 4, 5 to 6, because we don't know what we're leading to, right? WandaVision didn't do that. Loki kind of does, but we still don't know. Like, it kind of leads to, okay, now we have the multiverse. Doctor Strange made me more confused than ever than anything else, which that's always been like when I read Doctor Strange comic books, I'm like, I'm no clue. I'm not it. But, and here's the thing is that magic has never been a good like medium, I guess, for comic books. Or I don't know. It's for the casual comic book fan, I'm saying. Yeah. So we don't know like what ultimately, what version of Secret Wars are we getting? Are we getting the mid 80s one, or are we getting the 2015 one? We don't know who the main superheroes are going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just, there's a lot going on, and I'm excited, but I'm not like crazy excited. Like, okay, you know, we're getting Endgame, or we're getting the Infinity War type deal. Yeah.
So final follow up on that. Do you feel that the lack of excitement, or even like you want to be more excited like I do you feel that's from a general burnout on the genre of superhero, or do you feel that it's more of the results of Phase 4 just not having something you care about so far?
Not necessarily Phase 4 not having something to care about. It's just like I think Feige addressed this in the panel, is that the Easter eggs for Phase 4 haven't really been clear, you know, because he said in his mind and his vision, he understands where everything's going, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not to the casual fan, not to, you know, even, you know, I wouldn't say I'm a, you know,
not even to us diehard
fan.
We're all confused.
Yeah. So, you know, it's that kid that's, you know, that's sitting there understanding, you know, reading, you know, The Hobbit for the first time and stuff like that. He's got it, and everyone else is kind of like, wait, what's going on here? And you got to read The Hobbit like 2 or 3 times to really get it and understand what's going on. Or shit, like Game of Thrones, man. When you read those books, I have to have a notepad and write down notes of everything that's going on.
Companion guide.
Yeah, a little companion guide to go with it, because it's a lot. And so I think that with Disney Plus having, you have the ability to introduce a lot of characters really fast. You've got to stay with it, and you have to have the companion guide with you. Like, hey, you know, this character is linked to this character goes with this is what we're getting with this. And because like you said, if that, and you know what you mentioned with Miss Marvel, if that's going to be our introduction to mutants, what happens to the people that don't have Disney Plus or don't watch Miss Marvel? You know, like that, they missed out on a big Easter egg there, you know?
Yeah.
If you didn't see, what was it? When Tom Hardy's Venom, what was that?
The stinger for Venom 2 or No Way Home, when he gets sent to the
No Way Home, right?
Yeah.
When you see
he's at the bar.
He's at the bar and he gets sent back, but then the little piece of the symbiote stays behind.
Is left behind.
That's gonna lead to Secret Wars and you know, and leading to Tom Holland's Spider-Man getting, you know, the symbiote suit. If you miss that, you're missing out on a lot. So I think it's that when the movies came out, you know, that was just it. All you had to do was just watch the movies. You had to just go to the movie theaters, or, you know, when they came out on DVD, go from there. But then when you have Disney Plus now, when you have theaters, theatrical releases and stuff all tied together, and the way that I've been critical of Disney Plus and Bob Chapek of doing this weekly release and not, you know, if you don't stay with Miss Marvel every week and watch it there, or, you know, or go back and watch it once it's all released, it's tough. It's a lot to to digest. So
Well, they gotta make it worth watching, and that's been the biggest. Most people's complaint is they're out of a series with 6 to 8 episodes, a lot of them only have like 3 good ones.
Yeah. Besides, say Loki. Loki's the only one that I felt like it kept me into it.
Most all
kept
the
me
way through.
Yeah,
Pretty
like
good.
at the end of every episode, I was like, okay, I want to see what happens next. They always left it on a good cliffhanger. Like Moon Knight, supposedly that's it. That's all we're getting of Moon Knight. And to me, I think that's a big waste. I mean,
Oscar Isaac did a really, really good job, and we only got Lockley at the end of it.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
What a waste, man, if that's it.
Anyways, we're gonna end it there because we're pushing over an hour now. But hey, good conversation.
Good episode.
Shockey. Yes, thanks for joining me here on the Daily Cup of Genre, which you guys can find on lrmonline.com, as well as celebrity interviews, written reviews, things on games, comics, anime out the ass whenever I have something to say about it. We have all of our podcasts are available there as well, links to them, and whatever app you like to use or website you like to use for podcasts. Great shows. In addition to the Daily Cup of Genre, our long form potpourri show, if you would like, Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast. They also usually have a movie or show review that they'll discuss every week. The Cantina does Star Wars news and reviews. We'll be doing Andor. Shockey is one of the co-hosts on that podcast. Anime Versal Reviews. We continue on with Classroom of the Elite Season 2, and Marvel Multiverse Mayhem will be doing news up until the next thing to review, which will be what's the next show coming? She-Hulk in August.
Yeah,
August
She-Hulk.
17th. So that looked funny. I'll say that both the
I feel the trailer and stuff like that has me a little bit more at ease with that show. Mm-hmm.
Yep, and it looked better. Some of the textures for She-Hulk were a bit better, and I think but I think the facial mapping was still kind of we'll have to see. But I am excited about Black Panther and the potential for that. The set design and costumes again looked amazing. They are one of the first movie is one of the few comic book movies to get an Oscar that I feel truly got ones that it deserved, with the production and costume Oscars that it ended up getting. So I like that. Shockey, where can people find you at, and whatever else you want to say here at the end?
All right. Sorry, my headphones went out there for a second.
Oh, I was just can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I was just saying where can people find you at online, and whatever else you want to plug or say here at the end.
Oh, yeah. So you can find me at LRM_Shockey on Twitter, and you can email me at michael@lrm.com. We're always looking for new contributors to this site, whether it's podcast or written form. So hit us up and let us know.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye.